Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for Jennifer Zulli's yearly recap. You are the busiest person I've ever known, and you are the biggest thinker. You have so many dreams and you're so capable of doing things. I remember you told me not that long ago that like you're a big person. Like the first time you ever performed, right, was at Carnegie Hall.
Yes, I was actually 23 and I had my first leave replacement teaching job. And our first concert was at Carnegie Hall. Oh, yes. And I was dying. Yep.
Yeah.
But yes.
You've had dinner with Elizabeth Lesser of the Omega Institute. You've met your favorite composer, right? Didn't you?
I did. We met Ludovico Einaudi. I met him in Manhattan. Yeah, and I've had a great. The past couple of years have been amazing in that regard.
Yeah.
Um, Even in some ways, not even imagining how big it was. It just, yeah, it was
Hmm.
bigger than I can possibly dream of. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how has that played out in your business in the last year? Like, you have really big plans, and I know that the business that you're running right now, which is Sound Center Arts, it's taking a little bit of a it's like finding its feet right now so that it can have the strongest foundation possible because you are looking to expand. You're looking to, buy the place next door so that you could have a cafe, and you're looking to make a school in the back with that's in a tree house. Like, has this always been for you, this the way you work in these big thinking ways? Like, are you just a grand orchestrator of life?
I feel that, um, you know, yes, I do feel that within myself, I have this capability of seeing the end of things, and they're usually pretty huge. And so, for me to fully embrace and get there step by step, yes, being with other people and having them do the integral parts are really paramount to becoming, the visionary that I know that I am and can be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So that's your goal, and that's what you know is it's done. It's just done in the future right now. So how are you getting there? Like, what has the last year been like at Sound and with yourself to make those things happen?
So for this past year, we have definitely grown since last year, which has been, it's not tremendous, but it's growth. And, I do feel, I believe in a 5-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I personally do, because I feel 5 years for me, is a good way of feeling every bump and learning and, going on that journey. And I would rather that for me. But I do see a lot of people that are successful it's usually 5 years. And that's true success, I think. The overnight success, I feel, I don't think that lasts. I don't think that lasts, and they don't know what to do with it. So I think I don't know, slow and steady for me always wins the race.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I've seen growth in, my email list. The mailing list has gotten better. We've by 50, 60% so far
Nice.
have increased. And not having to go out there and get every email. People are just coming, which is wonderful. We're being, known in other counties now in Connecticut and Westchester County. People are knowing about what sound is. Also, we were able to hire more teachers this year, and it's remarkable. And I have to remind myself, because I'm always 5 years ahead,
Yeah.
and so that is one of my things I work on. I really have to try to remind myself when I get caught up in my mind that look how far I've come in a year. In a year. So
Yeah.
I've been able to hire an assistant for myself and an assistant director, and yeah, it's been amazing, but hard. It is not,
Yeah.
it's work, and it's work that I need to do and I love to do, and I am a worker bee, and I just love it. Yeah.
I just love I love your personality because not everybody is like you. Not everyone has a big vision. Like a lot of people who are kind of in the helper healer field are almost afraid of the big vision. Like they don't want to think of themselves as being big. They're afraid of that. It's just like one foot in front of the other, and that's how they make it. So I love it that you're the big person, and then the harder part for you is really like, all right, like how do we get there? Or,
Mm,
seeing like the middle steps. So for people who have this big vision, um, what advice can you give them to keep going?
you know, if it feels like it is going in the direction of the big vision, even if it's sitting down and having a cup of tea at that particular time and it feels right, then that is the way that they need to go. And you never know what you have. You never know what thought will come when you have that cup of tea.
Okay, so you're saying that for people with big visions, really follow your feelings. And if it feels like it's getting you to where you want to go, even if it's just a cup of tea, um, do it. And I know you had more you wanted to add to that.
Yep. I love visuals too. So for me, I mean, I have tons of vision boards for different projects that I will get to now or in the future. And some of these things, and I too believe in timing. Timing is key, 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 key. Some of my, sound was in my mind in 2010, but there was no possible way that I could do it. I was in a wheelchair, so teaching myself to walk again. Um, I I had a 3-year-old. I was working full time, and it was just timing. So my advice is to keep believing in your vision, no matter what. No matter what, because if it's in your soul and if it's in your psyche, you'll get there. One foot in front of the other, baby steps. Um, I said vision boards. I mean, just to look at it and know maybe you know what this week you have to do the laundry. It has to get done, but that it's always if you have it in your front of your face, it's there. It's something that'll remind you to just go in that direction of the flow of your vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And your visions boards, I remember when we met, you told me about this one board that you had, and it had the president on it. And I was like, oh, well, that's great. Um, and then I don't know if you met him, but you were with him, right? At the.
Yeah, actually, you know what? It was one of the vision boards where I had something about Omega on there, and then I had just things that I loved, and not necessarily that it was a vision that I wanted to meet the president, because just the things that I loved that inspired me. Um, I think I had like Martin Luther King, just amazing leaders that at that particular time I thought were, for me, amazing leaders.
Mhm.
Um, Albert Einstein, I can never meet him, but yes, I actually can if you meditate long enough, you can
Yeah.
meet him. But yeah, so that was they just. I think you just get pulled. You get pulled in the direction of your soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. So let yourself be pulled and don't judge.
Yes,
Even
don't
if it's
judge.
to make time for a cup of tea, do it.
And even if it makes no possible sense,
Mm-hmm.
I had to go back this year to half a year to teach full time. So over an hour away from my house, in a district. That was my old district before I started sound. But I felt that I needed to go back there. It made no logical sense, really. Financial sense it did make, but running a business and with my children at home, it didn't make logical sense, really.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my friends were like, "Why are you going back? Why are you going back?" I felt like I needed to go back, either to close the chapter of my life, or I knew that it would move me in the direction of growing sound. Didn't know how it was going to do it, but I knew it would. I
Mm-hmm.
intuitively knew it would. And then but once I went back, a lot of the pieces started to fall into place, and I had to go back to some of the things in my past that I needed to heal and look at again, so that I can let them go and further expand. And that is exactly, why that happens. So basically, my biggest advice to somebody with big dreams is keep hold of your dream, hold it in your heart, and pay no attention to logical things, because I think logic sometimes completely gets in the way.
I love that. That is so important for people to know. Yeah. Even if it seems like you're going backwards, or even if it seems like it has nothing to do with your dream, if you're feeling pulled toward that, then do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, I think so. I feel that
absolutely.
way.
Um, Another big accomplishment that you had was you got Sonia Choquette to come to
Oh
town,
yes, yeah.
which was huge. And she's just so amazingly nice. And she spent the day, or she spent an hour with people from the public who came for her lecture. But then the next day, she did like a healing workshop with the people from the Newtown tragedy. So, what was it like to ask her people to have her come? Was Is that scary for you to reach out to well-known people, or is that just part of your nature?
I can do that. That is something that comes to me very easily. I have no hesitation about reaching out. I think as a child, we were all growing at our own rate. We all have our own lessons to learn, and things to heal in our own in lifetimes. But as a child, I never asked for help ever. I always did everything alone, and that's another thing that I've learned through creating sound is, asking for things, and not being afraid to ask. And I learned that pretty easily, actually. So it comes pretty easily. But um, it's asking for help is, or not even help, but just asking for what you would like is very empowering.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes people think that it's the opposite. When you ask for help, you feel weak. Um, and actually, the more you ask, and the more people they're willing to help, and they're willing to step in, because sometimes their role or their piece has really nothing to do with you. It's filling their own journey. So their piece is something that they have to experience in themselves. So it's sort of like a puzzle. And so to go back to your original question, I have no problems asking um, celebrities or reaching out to people at all.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Very cool.
Whatever their answer is their answers. But it's without judgment. So you ask. If it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. If not, it won't.
Yeah. Well, I think another big point about that is, your center is almost 3 years old.
No, well,
Almost
almost two.
almost 2 years
So
old.
yeah. So this December 15th, it'll be 2 years old.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. And so a lot of people who are starting their business or starting a healing center, if they're not just working for themselves, solopreneur kind of style, they think that since they just started out, they can't ask bigger people to come in. They can't ask bigger people to interview them or be interviewed by them. They're afraid to reach out to people who have maybe been doing something a little bit longer than they have. But I just love how that's not the attitude that you have. And I think that could really inspire a lot of people to just claim where you are, like claim who you are, what you're doing. There's no like ladder of protocol that you need to follow, to ask certain people things, right? Everybody's a person. You just reach out to who you feel called to.
Exactly. Nobody. It. There's nobody that's better than anybody else. We are all human. We share the same things. You ask, and if they say yes, that's amazing. And if not, they say no, then so be it. You move on. Um, and I also think that sometimes, this is what I have also noticed in my business, the people that have said yes, the more well-known ones, were actually the way that I ended up going, because originally not my vision, but what I was intending to create when I created sound, to actually appease other people that I needed to make income for, such as family members. I did have a little bit of a different model, to show like a business model, business plan to make money, because that's what everybody does, makes a business plan.
Uh-huh.
But you know what? When you start asking people to come, sort of the plan is actually organically laid out for you. So the ones that end up coming and saying yes to your offer, that's the direction you go in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I noticed for myself.
Yeah. And how does it differ from your original plan, what you have now?
Well, it is much more. My original plan included a lot more music lessons. It was a lot more performance based, which I'm well and capable of teaching that and hiring people to do that. But it ended up more going towards healing
Mm-hmm.
and using music for the healing aspect and arts for the healing aspect, and bringing that avenue in, and spirituality and, psychic development, and just evolving consciously.
Mm-hmm.
Classes that are in line with that, as opposed to just arts.
Uh-huh. Got it. That's really interesting. So, and it's funny too that the original business plan was the one that was supposed to make logical money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely.
in the end, it's really the more out there stuff, the more healing and spiritual based stuff that is actually drawing the people to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of knew that, and I knew it,
Yeah,
but
that's what you were feeling.
I absolutely knew it. But so, when you have a family and you have mouths to feed and you have a mortgage and you have to pay bills, sometimes other people's opinions, they matter, and you have to acknowledge their opinions. So to do that, I compromise a little bit, but it's funny how things go
Yeah.
exactly where they're supposed to go. So
That's a really good point because, not everyone is going to open a center, and that's a really huge investment. Like you bought a building and you
yeah,
renovated a building to create this, and you left your job, so much expense, and not bad expense, just it was a big investment in sound.
hmm
And you had to work with your family and you had to tell people about it. You couldn't just keep it to yourself, or you know it's just impossible. You have a husband and you have kids. And I think a lot of people who are starting a business, who maybe are starting a healing center of their own, they're afraid to tell people because they don't know what they're going to think. Now, if they're working for themselves, do you suggest that people kind of keep what they're feeling vulnerable about to themselves as they grow into it, as to not get knocked off track by opinions of others?
that's a great question. I love that question because for a long time, I said I had this vision in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily share it with everybody because I needed to really embrace it and have it integrate within me, and know it and love it and dream about it, and just know without a shadow of a doubt that that was where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
So I did tell a lot of people, and the people that I did tell were the ones that I knew would be supportive of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do meet for me. I was able to have that. It's sort of like a fire. I needed to start the fire brewing within me and around the people that were able to support my vision. And I would never dare say to somebody who would try to knock me down, or knock it down, because why? What good would that do? It wouldn't do
Yeah.
any good. So until I felt confident, and now after a year, I was not embarrassed to say what I did. I love, even as wacky and as far out there and as kooky as it is to mainstream. Um, yeah, I am proud of what I have built. I am proud of who I am becoming, and yeah. So
That's awesome.
my advice to everybody is, or anybody who has a big vision, keep it for a while until you are 100% sure, and then run, 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 run with it, and don't stop.
Excellent.
Sit down for a cup of tea, though,
Yeah.
or two.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love your answers. And you're so inspiring to me, because when I first started out, somebody made a comment, one day you'll be doing stadiums and, as a medium. And I was like, oh my God, never. I was so like, putting the blinders up. And not that I want to do that now as a medium per se, but I would love to do big speaking events. And I think that would be so much fun. But I wasn't there yet when I started. And so for you, not that you're just starting your career, you've been doing music all your life, but for you to have such big visions and be so willing to do what it takes to get there, like you said, no matter what it seems like the path is along the way, is just really inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing your
Thank
story
you.
with everybody.
Well, you will be on. You will be in a stadium. I can see it.
Purple haired
Absolutely.
lady. Mm-hmm.
I love it, and it'll be so different than everybody else. That you see, and that's what I think. It has to be. You have to be unique, and there are hundreds of healing centers. So
Yes.
phone.
I know.
See.
Well, we're up
Thank you
anyway.
so
Thank you
much,
so much.
Rachel.
Lots of love.
Thank
Because
you.